What exactly is the main characteristic that makes this tax residency different from other tax residencies?
I'll say the biggest thing is that instead of paying a government fee, a consulting fee, legal fees, stamp fees.
Today we're talking about the new opportunity in Prospera, a special economic zone. And we have here Joey, the creator of this new opportunity, who will guide us through what Prospera tax residency is and its benefits and who is it perfect for. So tell us, what exactly is Prospera tax residency in some simple terms?
So in simple terms, when we talk about Prospera is a special economic zone in Honduras. Okay, so essentially, Prospera is essentially I don't want to say acting on behalf of the Honduras government, but they have the sovereignty to dictate certain laws and rules. And one of those things that they have sovereignty over is the way that they can tax the residents of this zone. So in simple terms, the tax residency in Prospera is legally equivalent to a Honduran tax residency.
Okay, and how does that work? How does it work from the moment when someone applies to the moment when they're considered a tax resident in Prospera?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So essentially, you would go online through our portal, and what you would do is that you would fill out a simple application. You would essentially pay, and we do accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to pay the tax. Once your application is approved, then you would actually go through Prospera's e-portal, and you would sign up for residency there, and there'll be a KYC process very similar to, let's say, if you sign up like on Coinbase or like an online account. Then you would also have to get a business. You would get liability insurance, you get proof of address, and then we'll help you set up a bank account for that business as well. And all that will actually be included as well. So basically everything is done completely online.
And so what exactly is the main characteristic that makes this tax residency different from other tax residencies?
Yeah. So I'll say the biggest thing is that instead of paying, let's say, a government fee, a consulting fee, legal fees, stamp fees, and all these other things, everything is basically just one giant tax. So it's a $5,000 lump sum tax, and then everything you get with it will be basically entirely complimentary. So basically, let's say, for example, you do the Paraguay tax residency that is very famous to do, especially like for digital nomads. I mean, it's kind of like the default option. It's been the best option on the market for as long as I can remember. But the difference is that you're spending maybe about $3,000 to $4,000, depending on your lawyer, to get everything done. And then plus you're traveling, and they have to do like multiple trips to get your RUC, which is your tax residency certificate. And if you add all that costs up, it's about $5,000. And then you do all of this to basically prove that you pay 0% tax, or sometimes you can voluntarily pay, some taxes. I some friends do. So what I wanted to do when I designed this program with Prospera is that they just like basically take all that cost and lump it into just one single tax. So then you can take all these fees that you would normally pay and prove to, let's say, your home country or your last residency and say, hey, I actually paid tax. Because as we know, more and more of these countries are going broke. And so if you're going around paying zero taxes or very little tax, then they still might try to go after you. It's just not good. So what I wanted to do is basically prove, or like essentially make this program where like this is all inclusive, like this is a full tax you pay, if that makes sense.
Very simplified version of everything.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
And can you maybe explain what taxes does the Prospera tax residency option replace? And which taxes would still remain on top of this tax?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So essentially, this $5,000 tax is basically covers your income tax. Okay, so it does not cover business or VAT or property tax or any other tax. This is strictly for your income tax. Okay. Now, in Prospera, just like Honduras is actually a territorial tax system. So for their business there, if you're actually doing your business operations in Prospera, you would technically have to pay 1% tax. But since if you are a digital nomad, you're not actually living in Prospera, and your business operations, if you do decide to use that business, since you're basically not making any money, like doing actual work in Prospera, you essentially pay zero. So from that standpoint, it's pretty nice. So you only have to do the 5,000. There's nothing more. There's nothing less, and it's not zero. It's something like where you're basically proving like, hey, like let's say like if you're Canadian or Swedish and you left those countries, and you can prove them, hey, I actually paid tax somewhere instead of Paraguay where it's like I didn't pay any tax. And you're paying.
Yeah, so basically you're willingly paying some tax in order for your high tax countries to see that, okay, you're not legally avoiding taxes. You are paying at least something somewhere.
Yeah, and some countries will care about that more than others. So, for example, a country like Sweden or a country like Spain really will care. They really want to make sure that you're paying tax somewhere. So, if you go around and you do the Paraguay option, or even if you do Dubai and you're paying 0% tax, they might still try to tax you. For I believe Sweden is 3 years, and I think Spain is 5 years, where they'll follow you.
Yes.
And so
that seems to be popular.
Right. And my fear is that especially these Western countries are just going to get worse and worse and worse as they'll try to follow you. So for me, it's like if you're spending all this money to prove that you're paying 0% tax in Paraguay, you might as well just lump that all in and say, hey, I paid the $5,000 in tax. And then and then of course we'll get you the residency, the company, the liability insurance, all these things that are kind of like included complimentary, right? So from that point of view, and of course all this is done remote. You don't have to fly all the way to Paraguay, which is not an easy place to get to. You just do this all online. So if you are a digital nomad and you're chilling in your villa in Bali and you just left Australia, okay, you can just say, oh, I need to switch my tax residency from Australia to should I do Paraguay? Oh, I can do it here in Prospera and just do it all online, get approved and done.
Okay, and is there anything else that we have to know about that flat annual tax, how it's working and what types of income it's covering? You already touched a little bit upon that, what kind of taxes it covers, but is there anything else we need to know about this?
Yeah, so it just covers income. But I would say it's very simple, very basic. Once you handle all of that, I know this is like an annual tax you'll have to pay, right? The only other requirement that you'll need to do is that after you get approved to basically elect into this tax regime, you'll have to come to Prospera for at least 7 days, but you got 12 months to do that. So as soon as you get approved, you got 12 months to come visit Prospera.
So great flexibility in terms of when you want to go vacation in Prospera.
Exactly. Like there's direct flights from Miami, there's direct flights from Toronto, there's direct flights from Houston, for example. So if you're coming from North America, if you're coming from Europe, you can probably just fly to Miami, then straight to Prospera. Prospera is actually on the island of Roatan, which is off of the mainland of Honduras, so it's very safe. No problem at all. And actually, the island of Roatan has some of the best snorkeling in the world. So even before Prospera was a thing, there was a lot of Americans and Canadians and British and Europeans going there simply to snorkel. So some people might be listening to this like, oh, I have to go there for 7 days. Well, first of all, like, it's much closer to Paraguay. You have to go to Paraguay twice. You only have to come here once. And on top of that, when you go to Prospera, the people in Prospera are some of the coolest people as well. You'll find a lot of high value people doing a lot of like really cool things, especially in the crypto space or in the longevity space. They actually have a resort that is part of the zone. You can play golf. So like there's plenty of things to do where you'll go there for a week and you'll probably want to spend even more time there. So it's a very simple requirement, it's very flexible, and it's much easier to get to and a lot closer for like a majority of people, than Paraguay or something like that. And compare this to like let's say other options, Cyprus. If you're going to do the Cyprus and get the Cyprus tax residency, you have to be there for 2 months. And then, of course, if you want to do the UAE, you have to be there for 3 months. And that's a little bit more of a complicated setup because you have to go through and get that residency. You have to go there, get your fingerprints. You have to like set up a more complex business and stuff like that, just so that you can pay 0% tax. And remember what we talked about before, a country like Sweden is going to follow you for 3 years. So if you go to the UAE for 3 years and you pay that 0% tax, obviously talk to your tax accountant in Sweden. I'm not a licensed tax accountant, and I cannot.
Yes, exiting certain tax jurisdictions can be quite a challenge.
Right. Because each country has their own rules, rules and stuff like that. But Sweden might still try to tax you for 3 years, and you're going to even do a more complicated setup in the UAE, and you have to stay there, and it's going to cost way more than 5,000 to do all that. So This is just a very easy way where you're paying tax somewhere, you do it remotely, and you can be free to go anywhere you want. So basically, like the way that we frame it is that this is the first remote tax residency program, and this is really designed for the modern nomad.
Yes, especially those that want to enjoy Latin America, which is a very popular destination for a lot of digital nomads.
Of course, but you can go anywhere. You only have to come to Prospera for 7 days. I mean, you can go to Bali for 2 months. You can go to Bangkok for a month. You can go to Lisbon. You can go to Miami. You can go to like Tulum. You can go to Argentina. Brazil, right? Like you have that freedom, and as of right now, I think the last time we calculated it is that there's about 73 million digital nomads in the world, and I wouldn't be surprised if more than half of them are still paying like high taxes back to their home country because they just don't know any better. And then the ones that are smart are probably trying to set up in Cyprus or Paraguay or in the UAE, or trying to find some weird gray thing like
or exploring every single option, which is not the ideal option for a digital nomad. Yes, I've heard from clients like exploring every single jurisdiction.
Right. And if you don't know what you're doing, you might be in the gray area. You might not be completely legal. And this is something that is really increasing, especially ever since COVID. And what I'm starting to see is a lot of people who left their high tax countries, like ever since COVID, they left for, like 3-4 years now. Like it's been a while since COVID. And these countries are now starting to like realize, hey, you actually never legally left our system. So you owe us back taxes for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
We're going to fine you and you have to pay interest and all this kind of stuff. And so they're catching up, like depending on the country. And sometimes this is happening when they're trying to move back to their country, right? It's like occasionally people will move back and they just didn't know that they had to pay taxes there because, like they just don't know. Or sometimes like they'll try to open up a bank account. Like this is probably where the enforcement is probably a little bit more apparent. And the banks will ask you like, hey, where's your residency? And it's like, well, I don't have a residency. But I'm a Canadian citizen. Okay. Are you a resident of Canada? No, I don't live there anymore. Okay. So are you?
Yeah. So basically for every business and financial transaction, you do need that residency card and the tax residency somewhere.
Right, exactly. So then if you tell the bank like, okay, well, I'm not a resident of Canada anymore, you might have issues opening up an account. And then if you handle all your banking still through Canada might still claim you as a tax resident for all those years, right? So that's why it's important, and that's why we designed it in a way that you get your tax residency, you're paying taxes here, you get your business, so you can operate all your business, everything, and it's all done online, and then just come vacation, and you got 12 months to do that. Easy.
So what would you say what documentation does this residency require?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is that, of course, like Prospera will be doing like background checks on everyone. So I would say, a copy of your ID, if it's a passport and stuff like that. Just think about it like if anyone has gone through like let's say the application process like for Coinbase or something like that, it's very similar to like that kind of KYC requirements, which to be honest is going to be a lot easier than most other like residency program where you have to get like notarize this and apostolize this and a bank statement of this and this and this and this, and those documents take a long time to do. And it's like you can just basically set this up pretty fast, so document wise it's
And
going to
what do
be.
you get then? Like, what kind of document do you get once you are registered?
Yeah, so the most important thing you're going to get is the tax residency certificate, and that will actually be stamped by the Honduran government. So like that's probably like the biggest thing, and that's going to have the address on there. That's going to have your residency, number, and that's going to have all of those. And then if you need to download, let's say like documents related to your company and stuff like that, so to help you get the bank account, you'll be able to handle all of that through the Prospera portal.
Okay, and we were already discussing digital nomads. So is that the ideal client for this Prospera tax residency, or is there also someone else?
I would say that digital nomads, perpetual travelers, global citizens are definitely the best match. If you are someone who still wants to actually live somewhere, then this would not work for you. This is really only for the perpetual traveler. So, for example, if you sign up for this, but you're still living 6 years in your home country or some other country, then you're going to be a tax resident there, and this isn't like this program is not going to help you out much. So the ideal client is someone that is always perpetually moving around, so which isn't
Or not
everyone.
spending a significant time in one specific country. So you have
Right.
3 or 4 homes.
Exactly. So if if you have 2 or 3 homes, you're always hopping, but you don't actually want to pay tax in any of those countries, and you make sure and you deal with like you figured everything out. So it's like, okay, I'm spending 3 months in Spain, maybe no more, for Spain. I'm spending a few months in Mexico. I'm hanging out in Bali for 2 months. I'm going here. Okay, you're probably not going to trigger any taxes in those places. So you have to be careful, right? And just make sure you're doing everything. But from our side of things, we'll make sure that you're compliant on the Prospera and like Honduran side.
And are there any specific professionals within the digital nomad world that this structure would be perfect for, or some income bracket people?
Here, I would say this. If you want to be a digital nomad and you're paying more than $5,000 in tax, then I would say that'll be kind of like the cutoff. I mean, if you want to be a digital nomad, but you're only paying like $2,000 in taxes, then this is probably not going to be the best program for you. And your probably main focus is probably, I mean, I hate to say it, but probably, obviously tax is not your issue. Your issue is probably making a little bit more money.
Yes.
Right. So whatever like that income, really is. So, so like if you're making 40,000 euros or you're making 400,000 euros, at the end of the day, that your tax is just going to be 5,000, right? So that kind of consistency, that kind of, because, what we saw, like what happened in Portugal, where they changed like the NHR program every year, like Portugal is changing like their tax program, right? And it's like inconsistent, and that's why so many people are going to Cyprus. They're going to the UAE. They're doing Paraguay because these programs haven't changed too much. Occasionally Cyprus might change something, the UAE might change something, Paraguay might change something. And if you notice, they're always making it a little bit more challenging. They're making it a little bit more tough. So the nice thing with dealing with Prospera, since it's a special economic zone, you know, we're not going to, you know, like we want people to essentially pay their taxes to us. We want people to come visit the zone. We want people to come hang out with us. So we're not like a large government that's just going to take advantage or not be very clear. You know, we're going to understand things. We're going to keep things very consistent and keep things, you know, very easy from a compliance level. You know, and really, this is a program that's designed for the modern nomad. You know, and Prospera is a modern special economic zone. We're not doing where we don't have like an archaic process. We're not having like physical stamps and like old pieces of paper or all these things. Everything is completely digital. And when these digital nomads are, you know, like they're operating through like their laptops, everything in their life is digital. Their tax residency might as well be digital as well.
So, what would you say the main benefits would be for somebody who would consider this option?
I would say the main benefits. Every person's situation is going to be different, right? You know, because it could be simply like an insurance policy, right? Like, okay, well, I need to pay tax somewhere, or like I am Swedish and like I have to pay tax somewhere, or Sweden is going to tax me, you know. So I want to get out of the Swedish tax net. I can't do Paraguay. I can't do the UAE because those are 0%. So I'm going to pay here. So I'm paying something, right? So everyone's situation is going to be different. But I would say the most important thing is that if you're looking for freedom, if you're looking for flexibility, if you're looking for like a digital first option, then I mean, like, this is really like the best choice.
Okay, and what do you think are the main trade-offs and limitations that people need to understand before applying for this tax residency?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is that you really do need to be a perpetual traveler. You really do need to be a digital nomad. If you're still living in Germany and you plan on being in Germany for 6+ months, then this is not the program for you. You know, so your trade-off is that you will have to really continuously be moving around to some degree. I mean, if you're 5 months someplace and another 5 months other place, and those aren't enough to trigger the tax, you know, like for example, like I know in Colombia, if you spend under 6 months there, it's a pretty cut and dry case, you know, from my understanding. Of course, I'm not a Colombian tax accountant, so I can't give you advice there. But if you're under the 6 months in Colombia, then you're not going to trigger the tax. So like I can go to Medellin for, you know, 5 months and 3 weeks and then leave, and you know, and then go to Bali for you know, for some months, and still not get into the tax net in Colombia for for that. And you probably don't want to get into the tax net of Colombia. So everyone's situation is going to be different, but I would say the one thing that you're really trading off is that if you still want to stay in your home country, or you actually want to leave, or you actually want to live in Paraguay, you actually want to live in the UAE, you actually want to live in some of these tax, like low tax like jurisdictions, you actually want to be there, you actually want to create roots, and this is not the program for you. This program is essentially for the perpetual traveler, and one where we want you to grow roots in Prospera, okay? Because essentially what we want to do is create a community of digital nomads, because like that's another thing, is that if you're a digital nomad and you're constantly traveling around, that can be a lonely experience, right? And so what we want to do is bring that community and have where your home, your roots. It's because it's more than just a tax base in Prospera. So anytime you're not sure where to go, you're a little lonely, come to Prospera, come hang out, do some snorkeling, hang out with some cool crypto and like biotech people, hang out at the beach. The weather is great all year round. It's safe. The water is amazing. You know,
another new home.
Right. You know, like this is your home base, essentially, like you're home away from home.
And how does the full process typically look like from start to finish?
Yeah, so as I said before, what you do is we'll send you the application. You fill out the application, and then essentially you pay, and then you wait for approval. And then once you're approved, then you will sign up for your residency and your company, and fill out all the information on the Prospera portal. And then just come visit for 7 days, and that's it.
And from your experience, what do you think that other tax residencies are generally perceiving the Prospera tax residency like?
So essentially, since this Prospera tax residency certificate is legally a Honduran tax residency certificate, the only way that they can legally see it is simply as a Honduran like tax certificate, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's compliant and accepted by all other authorities and banks.
Legally, they should. I mean, how every bank or every other jurisdiction will, let's say, like react to it. Some might be confused, some might, so we'll have to see since this program is new, to be transparent. But legally, this is legally a Honduran, tax certificate at the end of the day. So they should accept it, right?
And what do you think are the other residencies or citizenships and other business structures that would really good pair with this product?
Yeah, so that's been very interesting as I've been talking to people who were kind of thinking about like how I could, structure this and stuff like that. So some people are trying to structure this with like, let's say, a foundation or company or residency in Panama. For example, like they want Panama to actually be where their company is, not necessarily like Prospera. So like they want to pay taxes to Prospera. They want to do all their company operations in Panama. They could do that, or maybe they want to set up like an Estonian company, with the Estonian e-residency, so they have that company in the European Union. So there's many different ways, like this is essentially, this is your tax residency. We'll give you the company as well, but how different people will have different situations, or like I actually want to do business in the UAE, so it just makes sense for me to have that company there, but I still need to pay tax somewhere, and I don't want to actually stay in the UAE for like those 3 months. So it's going to be very interesting, especially with a new program like this, how people decide to pair it together, because I've been hearing all sorts of different ideas, different things. So, but you can get a residency, in XYZ, and then pay your taxes here, or let's say you pay your taxes here, but you go off and get like a St. Kitts and Nevis passport, so there's different ways and different setups that you can really do like this. So it's going to be very interesting to see how how people adopt this program, into like the different ways that they want to do it. So I'm very excited.
And what about US citizens and this tax residency?
Yeah, so I'm actually a US citizen. So we're always tax resident in the US, so it's going to be less attractive to American citizens. The one way that it will be good for Americans is in a very niche case, because let's say I'm a US citizen and I want to live outside of the US, okay? And I want to still basically be, I still want to do the foreign earned income exclusion. If I don't have a residency anywhere, I can come back to the US for 35 days. But if I have a legal residency somewhere, I can actually come back to the US for 3 months. So if I have this residency, then I can actually come back for 3 months instead of just the 35 days. So in that niche case, it's like, do I want to pay $5,000 extra so I can come back to the US for 2 more months? And is that worth it to someone? It might be. Now, with that being said, again, I'm not a licensed tax attorney in the US, so this is not any legal advice. Talk to a licensed tax attorney, for that. So in a niche case, it might work for Americans, but it's going to be less attractive. So this is mostly going to be for Canadians, Europeans, Australians, some in Latin America as well, depending on their income. So
some parts of Asia.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably not going to be the best option for Americans, but like myself, but for anyone else, I mean, if you're going to be a digital nomad, like this is essentially the best product on the market.
And for the right client, what problem does the Prospera residency solve better than any other alternative?
Well, as I said before, it solves our tax residency program. So if you're not sure where you pay taxes, just pay your taxes here and make sure that you legally left your tax residency wherever your home country is or your last place of residency. So, this is what it solves, and it's digital first. So, and I mean, there's no other program where you can do that right now.
The thing I love the most is the flexibility that you have 12 months to come visit Prospera.
Yeah. Like, come visit. Like, this is now your home. Prospera is now your home. Tell the bank, tell your home country, your home is Prospera. Come for a week. Like, that's not much to ask for. I know, some of our clients will actually get some pushback on that, but you got 12 months to come visit, come hang out. And a lot of times when people come to Prospera, they'll tend to stay longer because they'll make some cool and amazing friends.
Okay, great. Like, this sounds like an amazing product, and I'm sure that many digital nomads and remote workers will want to explore this and enjoy structuring it with other products.
Yeah, so I'm very curious on see how they structure it with other products, So, and one other thing to mention is that if anyone wants to pair the Prospera tax residency program with the actual Honduran residency card, what's actually really cool about this is that you can actually fully submit the application for your Honduran residency completely remote. And in order to keep it active, you only need to come basically once every 12 months. And depending on your nationality, you can actually apply for citizenship after 3 to 5 years. So in a sense, it's actually a paper residency. So you can just get the tax residency, but you can also get the Honduran residency because we're doing it as a 2-tiered system. You can actually get the Honduran residency, which is not nearly as quick as a Prospera tax residency because you have to go through the Honduran federal government. So it does take a little bit more time, and you will need all those documents, like the criminal background check and apostolize and notarize this and stuff like that. But that can actually make your tax residency situation stronger because then you do have that actual Honduran residency rather than just a Prospera residency. And then you could theoretically apply for citizenship, 3 to 5 years, depending on your nationality. So it's a little bit more complicated, but that's actually another option on top.
Okay, this sounds great, especially for passport collectors.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you might as well do both. But if the residency or the passport isn't your main option, because sometimes your main option is you don't want to pay the 50% tax or whatever high tax to your country, and you want to be free, and sometimes you already have a decent passport, so it's not that big of an issue. But this is just kind of an added bonus of how great being in Honduras is and how great Prospera is.
Okay, sounds good. And if anybody is interested in exploring this tax residency, they can reach out to us, and Joe will help you set up a new tax residency and maybe even a new path towards citizenship.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Yeah, great talk.